Meeting called to order. Sycamore Township Board of Zoning Appeal. Let's start with roll call.
Mr. Schwartz.
Present.
Ms. Hughes.
Present.
Mr. Tenight.
Present.
Mr. Luger.
Here.
Mr. Schultz here.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nominations of vice chairman. We have a vacancy.
So, Mr. Chairman, the Vice Chairman, Mr. Jeff Heidel, recently he resigned. Mr. Schwartz has been approved to elevate to his seat, but not the vice chairmanship, but the seat. And then we have a new alternate, Mr. Anthony Ramacone, who's sitting over here tonight. So that kind of brings up the vice chairman as Mr. Heidel was the vice chairman.
Okay, so we need the nomination. I nominate Mr. Schwartz. Since you're taking his place, you know.
I'll second.
Oh, there we go.
Excellent.
Okay, let's have a vote.
I never had a chance to run my campaign.
You can't run because you already have the job.
I know. Mr. Schultz, yes. Ms. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Tenight.
Yes.
Mr. Luger.
Yes.
You get the vote.
Sure, I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's done. Next, approval of minutes from April the 17th.
This year?
Yeah. Do we have the minutes to sign?
Yes, I have the prior minutes. I can give them to you after the meeting.
I can't hear you.
I can give them to you after the meeting. I have them for April 17th.
Okay, generally we get them and sign them, don't we?
That evening.
Correct.
So give
If you
us
want to
credit.
pass them over.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes from April 17th, 2023.
I will second that.
Okay,
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yes. Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tenight.
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Luger.
yes. Okay. This over so he can sign them. Someone down.
Sure.
Okay, next, swearing in those that are going to provide testimony. Anybody who wishes to speak up at this meeting has to be sworn in. Okay. I state your name.
Gregory G. Reddish.
Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
I do.
Okay, good enough. All right. There's no old business, so we've got new business. This new business is going to require two things. It's conditional use and a variance. Conditional uses are things that have some special impact or uniqueness that requires a careful review of their location, design, configuration, special impact to determine against fixed standards the desirability of permitting their establishment on any given site. In addition, there are 4 standards considered by boarding zone and applicable to all conditional uses. Compliance with the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution and the zoning district. Determination that the proposed use will not have an adverse impact on adjacent property or public health, safety, morals, or general welfare. And protective of natural, scenic, and historical features to the greatest extent practicable and consistent with adopted plans. So this requirement today has to hit the conditional use. Also, it's going to require a variance. A variance is an official permit to do something that's normally forbidden by regulations, especially buildings in a way or for a purpose normally forbidden by zoning codes or building codes. No variance shall be granted that is greater than the minimum necessary to relieve the hardship or practical difficulty demonstrated by the applicant. The requested variance must satisfy each of the following standards. Is this a unique condition? Is this not self-created? Would deny substantial rights? Is this not merely a special privilege? And it must be in harmony with the township resolutions. Okay, so I just wanted you to know what we're looking for here. Okay, you want to go with the new business?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'll start. It's case Sycamore B 230005. As the chairman noted, it's a conditional use case, which we'll examine first, and then a variance for gravel surfacing. Subject property is 4400 Sycamore Road. The applicant is Mark J. Brown of the Brookside Swim Club. The underlying zoning is B single family residential. The site area is approximately 3.46 acres. So in early April 2023, the Brookside Swim Club expanded the existing lot. Here's just kind of a picture from April. The existing gravel lot without a zoning certificate, approximately 6,226 square feet of gravel parking surface was added. And that's, if you look at the photo here, this image was of 2022. This image was of 2023, kind of right before they were getting into the bulk of the expansion, but the general areas in yellow. Kind of the nexus for the case, generally it's section that undergirds the case. Sycamore Township zoning resolution 12-4.5 requires every off-street parking lot and driveway to be surfaced with an asphaltic or Portland cement binder pavement, so impervious, that provides all-weather, durable, and dustless surface. So the presence of the existing non-conforming gravel lot does not provide a right to expand the non-conformance further. In terms of the conditional use, there's a number of factors that the chairman noted to outline kind of the four factors, which I noted basically the underlying for that use. Generally, in a nutshell, and this will come in the recommendation, staff supportive of the expansion if it's an impervious nature. Staff wouldn't be supportive if it was a pervious or gravel nature. The rationale between the conditional use for that holding and the variance are very much the same. It's the gravel lot. It's the dustlet, or it's the material that can cause runoff, dust, or noise. So with that, I'll go through the kind of the more table 1712 conditional uses notes a number of different standards to consider this use. I'll kind of briefly go through them. Condition 4, any structure except fences, parking area, or storage shall be set back at least 100 feet from every property line. So this facility it was first built in 1961, so it predated zoning. So a lot about the facility in terms of setbacks doesn't meet current zoning. But for this review, we just looked at really the parking lot. So some of these conditions that are required, we kind of didn't look at so closely. So condition 4, the existing parking lot was at least 56 feet from the closest west property line. The expanded gravel lot area is within a few feet of the property line now. Condition 8, the vehicular use shall be located and designed so to minimize impact on the neighborhood. Gravel causes, as I noted, gravel causes issues related to runoff, noise, and dust. This is why the township implemented the code outlawing it. Sycamore Township has concerns related to the expansion of the gravel lot and its negative effects on Bechtold Park. If the parking lot is expanded with asphalt or concrete, Sycamore Township generally supports the expansion of the parking lot, as I noted. But if condition 15B is implemented, so the presence of landscaping. So generally, if a parking lot is amended or added onto, landscaping is added in those cases. Condition 9 talks about striping. The lot right now uses kind of cones for some vehicular ingress vehicular management. It's just one of the standards to have striping. In this case, striping isn't present, just given the condition of the entire lot. Condition 14. So the architectural design and site layout of the structure and location, nature, and height of any walls, screens, and fences to be compatible. As mentioned, the site is generally from first built in 1961, so a lot about the site doesn't meet the current zoning, hence the existing gravel parking lot. Staff's just noticed that the pervious lot could negatively affect the community. Condition 15B just notes that if a parking lot is expanded, they would need proper boundary buffering. Condition 16, 17, 18, 19, and 21, we really didn't get into, just given the generally non-conforming, legally non-conforming nature of the site. It's from 1961. Condition 25, the intensity of the particular use shall be evaluated with regard to the location, size, and configuration of the tract. In terms of that finding, staff found that generally the expansion of the non-conformance, the gravel parking, generally negatively affects the community. Related to the variance analysis, the analysis is somewhat similar to the conditional use. It really comes down to the gravel. Condition it's 21-6.1 general standard. No variance shall be granted pursuant to this chapter that is greater than the minimum variant necessary to relieve the unnecessary hardship or practical difficulty demonstrated by the applicant, such a showing shall require proof that a variance being sought satisfies each of the standards set forth. The proposed variance is the finding. The proposed variance to expand 6,226 square feet of gravel parking is substantial. A practical difficulty is not present. Talking with the applicant, cost was brought up as an issue, but I would remind the board that cost is not a practical difficulty when analyzing a zoning variance or zoning hardship. The expansion of the gravel parking violates a number of Sycamore Township zoning resolution provisions. Most notably 12-4.5, which talks about the requirement for impervious surfaces, but also sections 9.2.4, 9-2.5, 9-2.6 prohibit the expansion of a nonconformance, which the gravel lot is. 21-6.2 unique physical condition. The subject property is relatively flat and presents no unique physical condition. 21-6.3 not self-created. This proposed variance is indeed self-created. They expanded the parking lot without a zoning certificate or any discussion with staff. Had discussion occurred prior, staff would have informed them that they wouldn't be able to expand a non-conformance, and to not do that, they would need the pervious surface. 21-6.4 denied substantial rights. The carrying out of the strict letter of the provision from which a variance is sought would deprive the owner of the subject property of substantial rights commonly enjoyed by owners of other lots subject to the same provision. Requiring the swim club to follow the zoning resolution 12-4.5 requiring impervious surfaces would not deny them any substantial rights. 12.1 or 21-6.5, not merely a special privilege. This would be the request would be a special privilege. the standard for the pervious parking, has been around since at least 2000. So it's very common, and the township's not asking them to repave the entire lot. It's just the lot that they expanded. Resolution purposes, the variance would not result in the use or development of the subject property that would be not in harmony with the general and specific purposes for which this resolution and the provision from which a variance is sought were enacted. Very much the same reasoning. It would not follow the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution. 21-6.7, essential character of the neighborhood. It gets back to the key phrase from the 12-4.5 surface and draining. The code requires an impervious surface, essentially providing an all-weather, durable, and dustless surface. This is required to, not negatively affect the essential character of the neighborhood. A surface that generates dust would hurt the park. It could hurt adjoining property owners. It's exactly why the township has that rule. In terms of staff recommendations, staff recommends approval of the conditional use request to expand the parking lot with the following conditions. Condition 15B shall be adhered to. A landscape plan shall be approved prior to the approval of the zoning compliance plan. Condition 2, if the parking lot expansion remains, it shall be an impervious surface, either asphaltic or Portland cement. Condition 3, I kind of threw in there as it kind of talks about striping. It talks about safe vehicular movement. Given the rest of the lot, it's a legal non-conforming gravel lot, from 1961. Are they going to not stripe that, but stripe the new section? If they did that, probably not. It would be tough for the township to make them stripe the whole lot. So if condition 3 was not included, the parking lot spaces and drive aisles shall be striped consistent with the Sycamore Township zoning resolution. That would be reasonable because the existing lot is larger than the 6,226 square feet that they added. Relate to the variance, staff recommends denial of the variance request of an expansion of a non-conforming gravel parking lot, approximately 6,226 square feet with the following condition. If the impervious surface is not installed, the gravel expansion shall be removed and returned to grass. Just in conclusion, generally the variance should be denied because it's substantial and it affects the adjoining. It could negatively affect the adjoining property owners in the community at all. That's all I have.
This is about as ugly a case as we've ever been given. You got a non-conforming lot, expanded non-conforming. What I'm listening to you say is that you'd like for the expansion to have some sort of a hard surface in line because of the dust, gravel, whatever. But if they don't do the rest of it, you still got the dust and the gravel.
Because it's a legal non-conformance. The same would be true if
I
you
understand.
The same would be true if you have a house, a legal non-conforming house that doesn't meet setbacks. If you put an addition on that house, it would have to meet the new setbacks. You have to meet the new code. Yeah, and the same logic would apply here.
I'm trying to envision what this is going to look like when it's, when it's done. This seems like it's.
Well, the provision.
Attacking you.
No, I understand. The provision is such that it would be odd for them to pave just that section and then have the gravel, but your average parcel in the township that over the years has gone from gravel to asphalt had that situation happen, and they paved the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, I just wanted to clear in my mind that what I heard is what I understand.
Who owns the lot immediately to the west of the yellow marked area?
Those are tennis courts and basketball courts, and those are owned by the swim club.
Even the grass area that is just south of the tennis courts?
Yes.
And the perimeter of that lot are existing trees? Am I guessing that from the aerial that you showed?
I think probably trees would be generous. it's weeds and brush growing through the fences.
Are there any more questions? All right, well then let's hear from the applicant. Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
Okay, please come up to the podium. State
So I'm
your-
Mark Brown. I'm the current president of Brookside Swim Club. I've been a member of,
We need your address.
We need
Sorry.
an address for you.
can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I've been a member of Brookside Swim Club for approximately 16, 17
We need
years.
an address from you. Your address.
I'm sorry.
Your home address.
Oh, my home address is 4610 Largo Drive. I've been a Sycamore Township resident for about 28, 29 years. Like I said, I've been a member of Brookside Swim Club for 16, 17 years. I've been on the board most of that time. I brought along some of our board members. Greg Reddy, she's our vice president, and he kind of directs our maintenance around the pool. Terry Reddish is his wife. She's our secretary. She takes care of all the administrative issues. Crystal and Kyle, Kurt, they're board members. And Josh Winston, he's a board member. They came along with me tonight. But I thank you for bringing us here tonight and letting us state our case. But I'm just going to read a short statement just to give you a little bit of short history of Brookside Swim Club and how we got here, pretty much. So I'll just read this statement. Brookside Swim and Tennis Club was established in 1961, making this its 62nd year in operation. The construction of the pool and club was funded privately by the neighbors in the surrounding area. In its early years, membership grew to about 350 families. Swim meets were popular in those times, so being a 25-meter pool, Brookside hosted many events. Over the years, Brookside has provided affordable seasonal entertainment to children and adults of all ages. It has provided seasonal employment opportunities to local young people as snack shack attendants, lifeguards, and co-managers. Brookside Swim Club is currently a nonprofit entity with a 501c7 tax-exempt status. The last 20 years have been a challenge in keeping a legacy type of pool such as Brookside in operation. The membership and board of directors have donated their time, talents, and assets to improve the facility and keep the pool safe and clean. When COVID-19 came along, many pools in the area did not open, but with the approval of the Board of Health and following their guidelines, we were permitted to stay open. As a result, our membership increased. The increased revenue has permitted us to replace equipment in our pump house and purchase automated pool cleaning robots. We also rewarded our manager and lifeguard with pay raises. With increased membership, our parking lot was getting pushed to capacity a couple of days a season. Just last spring, it was decided to install a gravel surface to a grass area adjacent to the west end of the parking lot, extending behind the tennis court. We initially intended this to be a 60-foot wide and extend back 130 feet. Our contractor cleaned up and leveled the area, and after installing approximately 2,600 square foot of membrane and gravel, the township inspector ordered us to stop due to not having a permit. Unfortunately, the contractor and we were oblivious to the fact that a permit was required for covering the grass area with gravel. After a couple of discussions with the planning and zoning administrator, Jeff, we were informed that any parking lot additions are required by the zoning codes to be blacktop or cement. We agreed to return the excavated area to grass as we did. We asked Jeff if there was any way we could keep the gravel that was already applied and not have to remove it. He instructed us to submit a conditional use request as a step towards possibly getting a zoning variance approved. The current board of directors and membership of Brookside Swim Club respectively requests that the small gravel addition to our parking lot be approved as is. Removal of the said area would only cause more expense and mess, where the time and money could be used on other projects enhancing the appearance of the Brookside property.
I have two questions. Number one, why didn't you get a permit before you started?
Well, like I say, our contractor, and we were oblivious to the fact, we just kind of looked at it, we were putting gravel over grass. We didn't look at it as a permanent construction project.
Okay. I'm an old guy, forgot what I was gonna ask. Is there some problem with your folks like parking in the grass?
We
Without the gravel?
were, but we were using it for parking on grass, but it was a very rough area. It wasn't real safe. We were afraid somebody was gonna step in a hole, break an ankle or something. So, part of what our contractor did was level. He cleaned it up. There was some old, grills back there and an old,
Yeah.
volleyball net and poles. So we cleaned up the area and leveled it prior to putting
I
gravel.
know what I was gonna ask. When he explained to you, what we need for the variance, we were looking for hardship or some sort of a special consideration in order to approve this. Do you have that?
Yes. It may only happen a couple times, 3 times a year when we get on a busy weekend, when it's hot, like 4th of July or Labor Day, we run out of parking. Everybody drives a car nowadays. What used to be adequate is no longer adequate. And it, like I say, this addition will probably only be used a couple times a year. But it's important to us that we don't have to go out in the parking lot and direct traffic.
And just one note, the grass parking would be permitted, whether it's the town center or, anywhere a church, and the code requires impervious parking.
Any more questions? What we need is some sort of a hardship that fits into the definitions that we're required to look at. And just because you need it doesn't.
I'll admit it doesn't show a serious hardship. It is a minor hardship.
Anything else you got to add?
That's all I have.
Any more questions for him? Okay, does anybody else want to speak on this? Okay, let's go.
Greg
Give us-
Reddish, 4051 O'Leary Avenue, Deer Park. I've been a resident there for 42 years, 43 years. Been a
Who knew
member,
Santa lived in Deer Park?
pardon me,
Who knew Santa lived in Deer Park?
right? In the flesh. So you guys be good to us tonight. I promise I won't be good to you. Kidding aside. My wife grew up there at Brookside Swim Club as a child. And when they had a lot of families and a lot of children, and 350 at the time, back in the 70s, where everybody had big families. And, this year we hit almost 300. And there are families there, and there are children there. And we provided great service for this community, and we have for 61 years, 62 years now. We don't have trouble there. We employ the youth. We teach children how to swim, how to behave, how to be around one another, how to get along with one another. It's a great community. We call it our family pool. And of course, I am the pool Santa. I'm the summer Santa. But regarding Mr., and forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Ucotter? Ucotter. As far as your report is concerned, there are some inaccuracies. We're not a single family residential. We are considered by Hamilton County. I can show you I'm not here to argue. In fact, I'm here to mend these fences if we can. I know there's been an issue with Sycamore Township and Brookside for a long time. I don't even know why. But I would certainly love to mend a fence if we can today, if nothing else. Yes or no, doesn't matter.
I'm unaware of any problem.
I am too. I started in January.
I know, but there has been for a long time, to the extent that I've been told by people that work here that they're not even allowed to join our pool. because of fear of retaliation. That's fact. So anyway, that aside, that's not why I came up here. I came up to, and I'd like to submit some paperwork, if I may, according to a Hamilton County auditor. Our parcel, and I'm just going to give you, it's 600 0203 0779-00, which is our large section. We have two parcels there, if you're not familiar. We have 4,400 and we have 3,998 or something to this effect. And that is that small extension that we're trying to asking for a variance on. That is by the Hamilton County Auditor, that is considered a, pardon me for a minute, auditor land, according to auditor land use, it's a 465 Lodge Hall Amusement Park Club. As far as the smaller parcel that we're discussing tonight, that is considered a 400 commercial vacant land use by the county auditor. Now, we see the county a lot. They come out and check our pool 3 times a year. The health department does. It's one of the cleanest pools in the county by them. Year after year, after year, after year. We provide a great service for this community. So I will submit this if you care to have it.
And just what Mr. Reddish is referring to, a land use code that county auditors throughout Ohio use. The land use code is something totally separate and different and mutually exclusive from township zoning. The township underlying zoning is B, single family residential. So
It's never been a residence though, sir.
The underlying zoning, the underlying zone is
the area itself.
What you're referring to is a land use code that the auditor uses for their purposes.
Yes, sir.
It has nothing to do with zoning.
So let me ask you a question, because I don't know. I'm asking. Is it considered single family residential because of the area it's in? Is that what dictates that code?
Yeah, I think generally you have.
Because there were houses around us?
Yeah, generally it's a residential area. There's residential uses. So today, if Brookside Swim Club were to start, hey, we have this field, we want to put a swim club in, great. You would come in through this conditional use process. You would design the use like that. In the case of the swim club, it was built in 1961 before zoning was around, so it has a legal non-conforming, the grandfathered use.
Yes, sir.
But that's if you keep it as is. If you expand it, the grandfathering doesn't carry with it. It would have to be built to code.
Okay, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
If this variance request is approved, does that wash away our grandfather clause? Because if in fact it does, I would respectfully pull back our request.
The conditional use, there's some parts of the swim club that might not be code, that but they might be a little worn. They're from 1961. Through this review, we've not looked at any of that. We're just looking at the lot. So this conditional,
yes, sir.
this conditional use request just deals with the parking.
And I get that. So as far as the, I'm just going to quickly go through some points that I highlighted. The area that we are talking about is approximately the size of this space right here. The initial area was going to go back to our fence line, which goes all the way back along. It was going between our fence lines along the distance of our tennis courts. And that's when Mr. Ukater came up and said, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" And we, put it back, and we did, and it was seeded. Now we had a small section that, like I said, was about as big as this area right here. It's approximately 2,600 feet. It's not 6,200 feet. And I say this because I know, and I can prove it to you if you want to meet me there tomorrow, because the gravel is different. The gravel is different, and our contractor used a crushed granite or something that's big. It's a bigger, rougher, it sticks together better, I suppose. We use what is a smaller limestone type of gravel. And the areas you have highlighted, if I can walk up here, the areas you have highlighted in this yellow here, this was all pre-existing. I just moved last year. I had telephone poles here that were separating the grass from the gravel. I just moved them last year. The area we're talking about is literally right here. And that's a God's honest truth, right
Sir,
there in my stand.
if you look at the image to the left, it wasn't pre-existing, it was added on to the,
Well, this is, you don't know what this is from. I mean, it's an aerial view, I grant you that. But it's also prior to, we don't know what year, what part of the year it was. It could have been prior to cleaning and de-weeding and weed killing and so on and so forth, which we do.
staff reviewed
So
multiple.
This picture right here is not, it's not an honest representation.
Staff reviewed multiple aerials, and the multiple aerials appear to be the same site arrangement as the 2022 aerial.
Yeah, I would be curious to see if that was, when that was in the year. I'd be curious to know that.
Generally, they're taken between February and the end of March by the county.
So we're not there for, by that time, 6 months. So a lot of growth happens, and that stuff all gets cleaned up, and it ends up looking like your second picture over there where you're highlighting that being new. That's not new. And Jeff, I promise you, I'll meet you there tomorrow whenever you want, and I'll show you the difference in the gravel, that is not the same gravel that they used on our extension. You know, we've heard a lot about, you know, as far as I'm concerned, though this is a nice report, most of it is not even applicable as far as I'm concerned, as I read it, because of our grandfather clause. You know, I'm not an expert at this thing, but most of it is not applicable. The only thing that's applicable, and you stated in your report, is the extension of the parking, and you know, then you say 16, 17, 18, 19, 21 are not applicable, pardon me. You know, there's a lot of stuff in here about gravel and concrete and so on and so forth. First of all, that's not a natural substance. There are chemicals and things that have to be done to, and it's a good surface. I'll grant you that. Gravel is a lot more natural. A lot of the country still uses gravel on their roads and parking lots. And I know Sycamore may or may not agree to this, but the truth of the matter is Ohio, much of Ohio, especially rural areas, and much of the country still use gravel because it is a sustainable. It's easily repaired. It makes drainage better because it actually drains where it's at as opposed to running off somewhere. Then you say something in here about our dust and it being a hazard to the community or something to that effect. And I will state for the record, our dust is minimal. We have people that come in there slow because everybody knows there's children there. Everybody knows people are coming to and from their cars. Very little dust is kicked up by our gravel that's existing driveway. Again, you can come and hang out with me at the pool. We'll smoke a cigar and have a beer if you like, and we can sit and watch it. All of you are welcome. All of you are welcome to come to our pool. All are welcome.
I have a question for you. Did I understand you correctly that did you state that your original construction included the area up to your fence, but you took that out and put grass in, and now the limits are just what it is today?
May I approach again? It was never put down. So when this construction was first done, and again, we apologize, we're with this. And again, I think if we could have a better relationship, I would love to talk to Jeff and ask him for guidance on what we can and can't do. Because our relationship has been so strained for so long, I think we don't want to talk to him. You know, anytime you have the festival, we have arguments about parking on our other side of the fence, the park side. You know, they put portalets in front of our egresses. And I know they're just doing what they're told, and I don't even care, we don't say anything.
Sir, just because we're recording, if you could go to the microphone or.
Yes, sir, let me just finish it. If you're looking at this right here, we actually had our contractor excavate out that whole section from the beginning of this yellow line all the way back to within, I would say approximately 10 feet of the
Okay,
Bechtold driveway. And that would be the west side driveway, I suppose. And it was burned up, and we were gonna clean all that stuff up. Our intention is to make that place look better than it does currently, but it takes a long time, especially got old guys like me and us trying to do it and working and taking care of family and so on and so forth. But we had, and when Jeff came in, we had them put it back up into the point that was finished. And that was approximately this size, right?
okay,
here.
so you excavated out to the western limit and you gravelled.
No, sir, we did not gravel because Jeff came in
No, let me
and
finish.
stopped. Okay.
You gravelled up to the point of where it is gravelled today.
Correct.
And then you just left the remainder of that excavated area to go natural.
We were asked to put the dirt back and reseed it,
Okay.
which we did.
Okay, got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
And wait, listen, we're not opposed to, we've parked on the grass before. We're not opposed to parking on the grass. We're trying to clean it up. That area was kind of shabby looking because of non-use and inability to use. And, we're trying to clean the place up and make it look better. You guys have a beautiful park. We have a beautiful pool. But anyway, I want to speak on, can I get a drink of water? I'll get it dry. I wanted to speak on, there's many times in the course of Mr. Ducatter's report about, pardon me, about dust. And there's never been a dust storm in that area like the dust storm that's created when the park's baseball diamonds are drugged. I wished I'd taken a picture the last time I saw it. And I know those are baseball diamonds and dust is to be expected, but dust is dust. And I swear to God to you, when they're doing those fields, whichever way the wind blows, it's a literal dust storm. Kevin's done it before. He knows what it is. Those guys disappear in that dust. And it lasts for hours, probably an hour, at least an hour per. As well as the volleyball courts. That is unwashed sand. And if you go over there and grab a handful of it and throw it in the air, you're gonna have a dust. So dust is a natural substance. It occurs everywhere to certain extents. I've pulled our robots out of our pool, and the vacuum bags in our robots were red from the dust of the clay, the loam of the baseball diamonds. So we're being affected by that dust. We don't complain about it. We just go on about our business and do what we do. I know you guys need baseball diamonds. Like I said, I don't care about that. It's not an effect to me as far as where I feel as if it's unsafe or it's harming our facility. But dust is dust. And, and I challenge anybody to come and see our dust because it's minimal. I drag our parking lot once a year at the beginning of the season to get all the debris that has fallen over the winter. And I try to do it when it's wet because I know that does create a dust. And it's worse with a drag than it is, as the baseball diamonds would attribute. It's worse with a drag than if you just drive over with a car or with one of your ATV vehicles, whatever you use. But I do try to do it when the gravel's wet, so as not to disturb. We try to be good neighbors. We don't get complaints from our neighbors. We want to be good neighbors with Sycamore Township as well. We want to be your friends and be your partners, so that we can help each other. I mean, I'd love to be able to call the township and not have to worry about, what am I gonna say or what am I gonna run into? And for advice, when we go to do the work we have to do around that pool to keep it safe. You know, so if nothing else comes from this tonight, and if it's a yes or no, it doesn't matter to me, quite frankly. I hope you give us a yes, but if you don't, it doesn't matter. We're gonna keep going, and we're gonna keep going for a long time. We're not going away. People love that place. I have people come in that moved out of town, and they walk around the front shelter area, and they're literally taken aback because they grew up there, and they look at me and say, I just flashed back to my childhood. They don't make stuff like that anymore. Everything gets bulldozed under, everything gets put anew. You know, this place is a historical place. If there's a historical place in Sycamore Township, that's one of them. That's been an active business for 62 years. Never hurt anybody. We don't worry about who comes in there because we know everybody. It's our family. Anyway, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Thank you for hearing our request, and Merry Christmas.
Okay, is there anybody from the public that'd like to speak?
I'd like to say something regarding the
Are you
hardship.
sworn in?
You have to be sworn in. No, you can be sworn.
Swear in. Step up to the podium. State your name.
Teresa Reddish.
Do solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Now go
I'm
ahead.
at 4051 O'Leary Avenue.
Okay.
The hardship that I would like to discuss, why we even put this gravel in that area, is because when you park on the grass on a wet day, it's, you know, we've had cars get stuck in the one section. And that back area was really bad. It was swamp back there prior to what was just done. So, you know, the hardship was people couldn't park back there. So we had to do something. Now that it's leveled and that grassy area, people have parked back there. Thankfully, you know, on our busy days, it wasn't raining and wasn't wet, or, you know, rainy days prior to it. Because we have had, you know, in swampy areas where somebody has gotten stuck before. So if when you were talking about a hardship, I think that was the main reason why we wanted that in that area, was so that people wouldn't get stuck on a wet day. So to remove it now, you know, it's a flatter area, so I don't think that we would have the problem of, you know, people getting, or that area always staying wet. I mean, when the lawn people would come to mow it, they couldn't even go back in that area. So there would be times when the grass would be this high. It was so wet, they couldn't even mow. So obviously people couldn't park back there. So that would be what I would consider the hardship to take into consideration. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else wish to speak? Okay, I'm going to cut off the public comments, and we're going to have, the board is going to debate this, and come up with a decision. Unfortunately, I don't see anywhere where we've met the hardship that's defined by our code.
That was an oversight. The code calls out a number of specific sections for individual uses. That's what I focus on. The 4 sections, I would say, they would not meet those standards if a gravel surface was employed. They could perhaps meet the standards if a impervious surface were employed, and perhaps maybe some landscaping were added to conform with the code, given that it would be an extension. So that would be my.
I don't see that. I haven't heard of hardship as we define it. But you also said some sort of special purpose, special condition. You said either a hardship or a special condition when you were reading it.
I think I was reading the standard of the variance request and that they were seeking a special privilege. In other words, there's really, as far
I
as
know what they were seeking, but I thought you were reading what the code says.
right, they essentially seek a special privilege that no other user, be it a swim club, a church, to have gravel parking. The code requires. It's very black and white. It's expanded. It's impervious.
If a church comes along or a school
Mhm.
and they want to do it, we have to be consistent.
Sure.
I just don't see them meeting the standard of a variance on the conditional use. Yeah, we could probably approve it on conditional use, but then you gotta turn around and have a variance. So my problem is with the variance.
So just to go over the 17-6A, the spirit and intent, the pervious surface, the gravel would not meet that because of it. It's in direct conflict with the code. The code requiring impervious surface requires an all-weather durable industrial surface so that it has no adverse effect. Staff again is concerned with the gravel's adverse effect. That would merge into 17-6, protection of public interest. It would have a negative effect on the adjoining property owners and character of the community. Consistent with adopted plans, because this was a legal non-conforming site from 1961, there are no plans because it was present before zoning. So that one kind of doesn't apply. The site is what it is unless it's expanded or substantially upgraded. So for in the instance of CHCA, which was the most recent case you guys heard, because that there was a whole new plan there, went before the board for a conditional use. Here, we're just targeting very simply the parking area.
Jeff, question for you. If this area were just grass, would they be allowed to utilize it for overflow parking?
By the letter of the code, no, the code requires impervious surface. In reviewing the site, there's been a few days where we have seen cars, parked on grass. We have at least one photo of it, but generally it's very cut and dry. If you're going to have parking, the code requires a all-weather impervious surface. And I would just suggest that the township is not suggesting that they pave their existing gravel lot. It's just the
Sure. Would it be a fair, excuse me, would it be a fair statement to say that the zoning code directs design for the normal or average use as opposed to the worst case scenario use? What I'm getting at is,
the former.
do parking lots, are the parking standards geared towards normal business activity or Black Friday and the holidays?
All business activity, but I would say normal business activity.
Okay.
And I would say that, on a there's a 100-degree day and there's cars parked out there, the township, there's a lot going on in the township. Our day is not focused on, reviewing XY business, if whether it's this or that, and so, have cars parked on the grass this summer, perhaps, but it doesn't mean that it's should be a long-term practice.
Any more discussion? I'm inclined to say no. The rest of it said.
Is that your vote? I'm inclined to say no.
Well, yeah,
I understand.
Does put us in a bind in that, as you said. it's happened in Similar situation.
Right.
Then thereafter.
yeah, we've heard enough of that where we approve something and
Yeah.
the next person's,
Came back
you
to bite
approve
us.
this, you approve that. Well, each one is different, but there are some similarities, so anyway. Has anybody got a motion?
If I make the motion, I'm saying.
It's denied the variance.
Did not.
First, we would need to take up the conditional use. So again, I'll read it. Staff recommends approval of the conditional use to the expanding the parking lot with the following conditions. Condition 15B shall be adhered to.
Okay.
A landscape plan. And then the second one, the third condition, I would probably pull. It's probably not practical to stripe the whole lot.
Okay.
You need-
Gotcha.
And then from there, you would take up the variance.
Oh, I see. So we need two votes. The first one is on the, okay,
Want me to do a temp one?
please, two.
I did visit the site today. I will, the first part will be, I will make a motion based upon the staff report to recommend approval of the conditional use subject to the condition that if the parking lot expansion remains, it shall be an impervious surface of asphalt or Portland cement. That's the only condition. I was out there. I think the limits of their property are sufficiently vegetated with existing vegetation, albeit maybe not trees as we would, pretty as we'd like, but I think there's sufficient buffering. So I would make a motion to approve the conditional use subject to the one condition that if it's going to remain, that it be an impervious surface.
I second it. But don't make me repeat it.
Is there any discussion on this? And you want to take a roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yes. Ms. Hughes.
Yes.
Mr. Tenight.
Yes.
Mr. Luger.
Yes. Okay, now let's go to the variance.
And I will, I don't like the way staff wrote it. Based upon the staff report, I will make a motion to approve the variance subject to the condition that the surface has to be either grass or an impervious surface. Is that, no?
It would just be grass is a pervious surface, so it would either be.
Okay, so approving the variance, subject to the condition that if that area is going to be used for parking, that it has to be an impervious surface.
They don't need a variance for that.
It would be best, I think, to,
You can't deny with a condition.
well, staff recommends denial of the variance request. So they're requesting the expansion of the non-conforming gravel parking lot, the 6,226 square feet approximately that they added. That is the variance request. You know,
Okay, so I will amend that to say a motion to approve the variance to allow the limits of the existing, I don't want to say gravel, the existing enlargement, provided that it meets the condition of the approved conditional use.
Sorry.
That doesn't.
It's,
I mean,
I'm trying to picture exactly what.
the variance is the enlargement of the parking, of the nonconformity, right?
part of what we're looking for on record is if the variance is denied, great, but an acknowledgement from the board that there's an expectation that the gravel be removed in the event that the township has to enforce it.
That's if it's denied. The gravel has to go away.
Well, it appears that the board is headed on that route, given the,
We took action to approve the conditional use as long as it is an impervious surface.
right, so by de facto, it is requiring that it be removed.
You can't pave over.
You can pave over it, but if you pave over it, it's not, in essence, it's removing it. I think you're thinking of this a little too hard. It's either the gravel's there, and if it's underneath the the impervious surface, that's fine, that's base, that have, or the gravel is not there and it's returned to grass. And the expectation is, the parking doesn't occur in the grass. So if they want expanded parking, they need to pave it, such, conformance with the code.
Let's just deny the variance.
If the variance is denied, do they still get to utilize that area as impervious surface through the conditional use?
They pave it.
They pave it.
If they don't pay it.
Okay, then my motion is to deny the variance based upon the staff report. Period. There is no condition.
It's fine.
Because the conditional use condition satisfies the other.
A second on the second.
Second.
One of the others.
Okay, we need one to second.
I will second.
Okay. Let's take a vote.
Mr. Schwartz.
Yes.
Mr. Schultz, yes. Ms. Hughes,
Yes.
Mr. Tenight,
Yes.
Mr. Luger.
Yes.
That's it?
Do you understand what just happened?
No.
I didn't think so. Pave it, you're good. Pave it and stripe it, you're good.
We're talking about the 2,600 square feet that they question that was left behind.
The 6,226 square feet.
It's not 6,000.
You can pave up to that 6,000.
Yeah, it's not 6,000. Yeah, I'll meet you there.
Sir, you can say anything you want. The aerials are clear. Now, is it approximately 6,000? Could be a little less, a little more, but it's certainly more than 2,000 square feet.
Okay, this is outside the bounds of our, we've got that. If you want to talk to him tomorrow. Okay. Is there any other, where are we on our agenda? Communications and miscellaneous.
We do not have a meeting for the month of September scheduled.
Okay. All right.
So we are denied, and we can't park our vehicles on the grass either.
That's
By
not,
the letter of the law.
Pardon me?
Let's finish the meeting.
Let's finish the meeting.
Okay, is there any,
Okay, I'm sorry.
let's, I need a motion for adjournment.
I motion.
I motion we adjourn the meeting.
I'll say.
Okay.
Vote.
Schwartz?
Yes.
Schultz, yes. Hughes?
Yes.
Tenight?
Yes.
Lugers?
Yes. We're adjourned.